All this, my friends, is happening under our watch with our United States taxpayer dollars, with Israeli taxpayer dollars. It's all happening. We are funding it. So don't tell me that it's because the girls don't dress modestly. And don't tell me it's not, we can't understand what happened. We can clearly understand what happens. Now, why there's a phony dialectic is because when you have a phony dialectic, then neither person actually proposes the solution. Let's get to the bottom line. Let's cut off all funding to the PLO. Let's remove every last government official and every army officer who was involved in destroying the Jewish communities in Gaza once and for all. Today, everyone wants to offer their opinion why events happened in October the 7th, Hamas' attack on Israel. So some rabbis want to say, as it's been reported to me, that it's because perhaps there could have been greater diligence among the Jewish people in certain of God Almighty's divine commandments, his loving instructions for us on how to live an upright and good life and a holy life. For example, keeping the modesty and different Shabbos and so forth. And they offer that as their opinion for the cause. Then there's people on the other side who say, how dare you say and blame people for it? We can't ascribe a cause for this. Who can understand God's ways? I hear that Rabbi Manis Friedman is on that side. I want to suggest, my friends, that this is really what's called a phony dialectic. It's two sides of an argument that we're supposed to take sides in, but both of them are missing the point. Each one, of course, has an element of truth. A phony dialectic can only exist if there's some element of truth. You can't have an argument on one side 2 + 2 = 4, and the other side 2 + 2 = 5. No one's going to take sides in that. But every side in a phony dialectic has to have some truth, but the end result is that people get led astray from either side. So one side is saying the truth is that obviously God Almighty instructs us how to conduct ourselves, and that he says there's consequences for our behavior. And the other side is correct in saying we can't know why God Almighty had in mind and in store for each particular person why this happened. But each one is missing the point. And the point is that it's not correct to say that there's no explanation for what happened. And we have an actual cause. An actual cause. The Torah tells us what the cause is. The Torah tells us that if you fund and build up your enemies and you give them territory and land and money and space to operate and turn a blind eye to them and encourage the world to fund them, and you fail to take a preemptive strike against them, the enemy will come and strike at the heart of the people. If you give away if you allow to be conquered, and even more so if you give away the border towns to the enemy, then they will strike into the heart of the people. This is what the Torah tells us. And this is what the Israeli government did. So what happened October the 7th, there's no mystery, there's no spiritual mystery as to how this happened, why is God Almighty happening. As God Almighty said, don't do this. Don't do this. Don't give away your border villages. Don't expose them to threats. Don't allow them to enemy to take preparations to come against them. Go and make a military strike preemptively, even on Shabbos, even if you just have a doubt. Instead, the Israeli government went and made its own war against the Jewish border villages and destroyed them in 2005. And then went ahead and funded and encouraged Hamas and the PLO and Ashaf and all the terror network and organized one unified organization. Actually, all this, my friends, is happening under our watch with our United States taxpayer dollars, with Israeli taxpayer dollars. It's all happening. We are funding it. So don't tell me that it's because the girls don't dress modestly. And don't tell me it's not, we can't understand what happened. We can clearly understand what happens. Now, why there's a phony dialectic is because when you have a phony dialectic, then neither person actually proposes the solution. One person is saying, it's a good idea. Everyone should dress better. And the other person is saying, don't blame anybody. Okay, but let's get to the bottom line. Let's cut off all funding to the PLO. Let's remove every last government official and every army officer who was involved in destroying the Jewish communities in Gaza once and for all. Remove them from any position of leadership permanently. then that's action. That's obvious. It has the 5-year-old child can figure that out. That's the obvious action. But first you have to break the phony dialectic, my friends. There is a clear attributable cause of this. The Lubavitcher Rebbe warned that the Israeli government is making war against God Almighty, the Torah, and the Jewish people, and they're endangering millions of Jewish lives. He wasn't referring to the danger of the Jordanian forces being a nuisance and running the land of Israel because we don't like Jordanian soldiers for some reason. That's not what he was saying. He was saying there's a danger to the Jewish people, that they will come to execute and annihilate the Jewish people. That's the danger he was referring to when he said the danger to millions of Jews. It wasn't a theoretical danger. It was what you saw on October the 7th. And he warned about it, and he said, if you give away Sinai, you'll give away Jerusalem. And this is what's happening. So what more do you need to understand that there is a directly attributable physical reason in this world? It's because we didn't listen to God on the specific thing he told us in the Torah, and what the Torah sages in every generation have warned us not to participate in surrendering. And the Lubavitcher Rebbe said, don't surrender and don't create a terror state. Don't even talk about it. So there is no mystery about what happened over here. There's no mystery. And while everyone should increase in the way they dress, but don't disguise and blame them, when in fact, you might be taking money for your yeshiva from the very government that's now at the same time funding the terrorists. Take action. Say, no, I refuse to take money from a government that funds terrorists. I refuse to give money to a government that funds terrorists. And I refuse to say that I don't understand why this happened, as if somehow there's a mystery. I will now take action. I will call my congressman. I will call my senator. I will say no more money to the PLO. No more money to the terrorists. No more money to Hamas. No $9 billion of funding to Hamas. And not a dollar to the Israeli government. So until they put in writing with a permanent promise never to fund another penny to any terrorist organization in Israel or anywhere else. That's what happens when you have spiritual clarity. When you see the cause and effect of God Almighty's world, then you could take action to have prevented it then, and to stop it now, and to turn it around until there's peace and security for every single human being in the Middle East and every single human being in the world. God bless you all.